Thanks for tuning in to Behind the Boost. Today, we're continuing our conversation with Bruce Rowe of Sebo Marketing.
On a high level, I was at Google a while ago, just due to stuff they've invited me to be part of things. So I was back at Google and they said, we're going to tackle attribution today. And everyone's like, cool, because we'd love to actually get this solved. And they said, just so you know, we're not going to be able to solve it, but let's just kind of state what we know. We know we're very good last click attribution. So for those that don't know what we're talking about, if somebody does a search and they see something and they click on it and they don't take an action, then later they might see an ad for the same thing. They click, they end up on the website, but they still don't take an action. Then they think, man, I need to go make that purchase. So they go directly to the website and then they complete the transaction or they fill out the form for a lead or whatever. So in that case, there was 3 visits. There was a pay-per-click visit and there is an SEO visit and there is a direct visit. Last click attribution just simply says that the last click gets 100% of the credit. So if you look at attribution models, you can do a first click. So how do they find out about you the first time? You can do a linear. There's all these different attribution models. And so what you're talking about is right. I mean, it's so important to understand how are people actually finding you? How are they doing those things? And which channel or multi-channel conversions are we dealing with? So we can try to understand, we do more of this, we're going to get more of these results. But attribution is such a massively important topic to try to find out where your ROI is. Because if you're not,
of course,
doing that correctly, who knows? You're guessing.
I completely agree. This year, I've had 20 plus conferences that I've gone to. And sometimes you see the same people at different conferences, which is hilarious for me. But we paid for this conference. It was a good conference content-wise. After the conference, we had 3 meetings. Not the best conference that we paid for. But those 3 meetings, because we were there, turned into 100 plus accounts, right? But that 100 plus accounts was because we went to that next conference. But if I hadn't met the first person at the first one, I would have had the second one. So we need to make sure that we're in both places and maintaining that relationship. There's no difference because it's physical or online. And that value attribution is the biggest beast. And I think it will continue to be as people are starting to gatekeep their data. And I mean, I remember when Google went from showing how many times you got an organic visit on Google Analytics, the amount of gold that we got there.
Yeah.
Because you were able to say, this is literally how much traffic I'm getting for this keyword, for this customer. And then it changed. And now it's like, Search Console is the best thing that I've got right now.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's really interesting to see. So you're in Utah. Utah is this hotbed. I'm from Colorado, right? You're from out of state, but you ended up staying here in Utah. But there's this weird cultural, like melting pot of we're going to freaking kill it and conquer the world when it comes to business. My question would be, why do you think that is?
Boy, that's a tougher question. If you ask me SEO questions or Google ad questions, those are a piece of cake. Or analytics or attribute. Yeah, all that stuff. I think there's just a lot of optimistic mindsets that basically just said, if you are trying to do the right thing and help other people, and this isn't just Utah, but if you're trying to do the right thing, you're trying to be genuine with them. I mean, we could think of a high-powered executive from New York. If we just say that, we have a picture of a person who is really driven. They work tons and tons of hours and they're trying to get ahead and they don't care if they squash somebody else in the way to climb the ladder. We just kind of have a general picture. In Utah, it feels like we can help each other and we can learn from each other and then everybody wins. So one little quick example about that, I was at a conference and I knew a lot of the people that were there. And this one person at the conference came up to me and they said, "Hey, Bruce, you're a marketer. Can I ask you a question about something?" I said, "Sure." So they asked me a question, and it's like, that is nothing about what we do. So the marketer label is really broad, meaning we could say we have video people, we have graphic designers, and we have we have all these different kinds of marketers. And so I remember thinking, why did you ask me? That's not at all what I do. And I was a little annoyed by that for a second. And then I realized, wait, that's my fault. Like if he doesn't really know where we fit in the marketing world, it doesn't work out very well. So essentially what I started thinking about is, how do we collaborate with, I'll say, our competitors? Meaning I know for sure that you guys have taken some clients from us. I know for sure we've taken a couple of clients from you guys, meaning we're doing the same thing. We're trying to do the same thing. We are competitors.
Yeah.
But we're friends already. We're talking, we're helping each other. If I can say something that helps boostability, even though that might feel like I'm helping a competitor, I don't care, because it's the right thing to do. And so I think there's a lot of that. It just seems like there's a lot of collaboration within the marketing world, whether it's competitors or not, because we can learn from each other.
I really agree with you. I also feel like I like to look at business. I overanalyze. I look at things. I read things. I watch things. And I look at like Airbnb, right? Airbnb was the hottest, sexiest thing in the world for a very long time. I lived in Melbourne, Australia for a couple of years, and I had to live out of a house for a month. That was an Airbnb house. And it was amazing. I loved it. But now if you hear about Airbnb, what are you hearing? You got neighbors complaining. You've got 20-year-old kids throwing ragers, not cleaning up their stuff and not caring about the cleaning fee. And there's more complaints and negative experiences about that. Now, how am I going to correlate that to, different marketing companies working together? I believe a rising tide lifts all boats. So if Bruce has a good interaction, good performance with a customer, and it gives a positive experience to SEO, then the next time that individual maybe doesn't want to work with Bruce, or he moves to another place, or he wants wherever, they say, you know what? I had a positive experience with SEO. I need to find an SEO company. Unfortunately, what happens is, and I hear this a lot, and I'm sure, Bruce, you hear this a lot. I got burned.
Yeah.
It had snake oil sold to me.
Boy, yeah.
You're right. And I know that if you and I were to create an amazing experience to somebody on the SEO side with a great reputation or great relationship, that's going to be more valuable than saying, no, don't go with our.
Can I share a quick little story?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we had a guy who's our point of contact. He was not the owner of the company. We did some really good things with him. He ended up changing jobs. He goes to this other company. And so at that company, he said, "Bruce, Sebo team, we need your help again." So we get back involved. And because I had a long relationship with this guy, I got involved in this conversation. So we go to this meeting. So it's me and somebody else from Sebo and this guy that I knew well and his boss, the company owner. So we go into this meeting. There's four of us. And this owner guy, he's looking at me. And the whole time he's just glaring at me. He's just doing this. And you could see he's like, I don't like you. Even though we just barely met. So he's doing this for a while. And so I'm talking to my friend, the guy that's changed companies. But every time I look over, I just see this mean glare. And so I decided to attack this head on. So I said, I'll just call this guy Jeff. Jeff, apparently you don't like me. Apparently there's a problem between us.
Yes.
I said, I'd like to know why. And he said exactly basically what you just said is SEO is snake oil salesman. You can say whatever you want, but it doesn't work. And so he said, yeah, well, it's also comparative. So if these guys are adding more content than you are, or they're getting more links or whatever. So he just said, I just don't trust you. And I said, sorry, Jeff, we just met. do I seem like a bad guy? And he said, no, you seem like a nice guy. And then he did this really weird thing. He said, this level is the best people in the world. This level is the worst people in the world. And he said, in my opinion, and I don't know why he came up with this, but he said, the worst people in the world are people that practice voodoo, whether or not you believe or whatever. But that's what he said. He said, so there's voodoo people here, and then there's SEO people next. And I said, what about all the guys that are in jail and all these other kind of... And he said, no, you're down there. And I said, why is that? Why do you think that? And he said, because again, you're completely deceiving people because you're telling people that you can actually help them and you can't because the algorithm changes and the rules change and you're just trying to sell something. And so I just think anybody that tries to sell SEO is evil. And I said, well, let's just give me 10 minutes where we did a little audit on your website. Let me point out a couple things. And then about 10 minutes later, he goes, wait a second, Bruce, you're telling me there's actually real science behind this? Yes. We can research, we can figure out the keywords, we can figure out why you're not as high as somebody else. Is it your on-page SEO isn't very good, or your off-page SEO isn't as good, or your technical SEO? There's lots of reasons, but we can identify those and we can improve those. And he goes, that actually kind of makes sense to me. And he said, all right, we'll give you guys 3 months. So we sign up, do some awesome things for him. A year later, he sells the company, makes lots of money. He sends me a nice big gift basket and lots of gift cards to different fun things for us to do, for my wife and I to do. And
beautiful.
Yeah. And so again, in that situation, there's the perception that we're just sales guys selling something that doesn't work. But if you really understand what are the levers you can pull that will actually make a difference, there's some things that if you do this, it's not going to, it might be the right, an acceptable strategy for that client at that moment in time. That's the wrong thing to do. So it's not going to actually move the needle at all. So if you can understand all the different things you could do, and you're good enough to understand the different levers you can pull that will move the needle, that's how companies like Sebo, Boostability has been around for a long time. I've been friends with lots of guys at Boostability over the years. Other digital marketing agencies that have been around for a long time, you know that a number of them also started and went away. But the ones like the Sebos and the Boostabilities and others, it's because we're doing it the right way. They're trying to figure out how to really help and test and figure out and tweak and do that. And you do that enough times, then you can really impact some businesses.
I agree. I think there's two things that I love about what you said. One of my favorite things about Boostability is we have the ability to help out small businesses succeed on. I've had the opportunity of working inside of accounts myself, literally doing like the titles, descriptions, the H1s, adding pages, blah, blah, blah. I was doing that in 2012 to 2015. They shipped me to Australia and we had a major partnership out of Melbourne. And I would do ride-alongs and I would help their salespeople know how to sell and speak to SEO rather than just kind of making stuff up on the fly. So I literally got to go into like a pest control company and say, all right, cool. How do we get it so that you stop getting snakes and these other random, huge, horrible things in your house in Australia? And you got to see it. So that's one of my favorite things, was actually seeing the impact of actually helping a business succeed. The other thing that you said that I really liked, and this is my favorite thing, is getting somebody from a state of anger or discontent or just overall grumpiness into saying and changing their viewpoint. If I were to say my favorite thing when it comes to sales, account management, saves, whatever it may be, is that feeling. Because as soon as you can make somebody feel heard, respected, and even if they leave after that, but we're still on a common ground, that to me is a win. So those are my favorite things, and good on you for being able to do that, because that is, I love that feeling.
Yeah. When you can really help them, whether or not they stay with you or not, I mean, I'm sure you have similar stories where somebody did end up leaving because they didn't have confidence or whatever. But there's many times where that person, they see me later and they come give me a big hug because they know that we're trying to be honest and fair, even though they didn't stay with us. That's okay, because every 100%. Business can use different things. Yeah.
That is very true.
That's it for part 2 of our conversation with Bruce Rowe. Join us in part 3 as we explore how culture, location, and a commitment to doing things the right way helped shape his journey.